Okay? And to prove to you I'm really doing it, I'm going to delete this previous example. You guys all remember this from lab 2. Who said 2? Thank you for remembering that. So you remember we want to go to a CSV file, a text file. Again, I'm doing this even though it's tedious to give, because data management, part of data management in your research studies is tedious. And I want to convey that message. So we're going to import this CSV file into Access. And then what are we going to do? After I import it into Access, I have 1 row per exam. So what am I going to do? Shout it out. Remember where I'm going. I want to compare the 2 groups with regard to IQ. Okay, and I have 1 row per exam. Some of the subjects have multiple exams. So what am I going to do in Access? Nobody has an answer? How long ago did we do Lab 3? I think that you guys know the answer. I think you're unwilling to tell me what the answer is. Okay, so I'm importing the file. And it's comma delimited. The first row is column names. You remember all this from Lab 2. Okay, and so we're going to import this. It's imported. Okay, so now I have this data here, and these are data where I've got subject ID, the jaundice, the predictor status of the patient, and the outcome measurement. But there's something wrong with this data. You can see right here what the problem is. Okay, so I've got multiple records per study subject. Okay, and so we don't want to treat these 2 values on Helen as independent measurements, because they're not. They're on the same study subject. So what I was looking for, and maybe I just didn't ask the question right, is for you to tell me that we're going to average over subjects. Okay? We're going to calculate average scores per subject. Okay, so remember how we did that in the lab was we created a new query, we brought in our table, we needed subject ID in order to aggregate over subject ID. We needed jaundice because we needed predictor status. We needed the exam score. We totaled. We're grouping by subject ID. And then I'm also going to count exams, and then I'm also going to average over exams. Okay? You did this last week. And you all did very well on it, by the way. And so there you have it. So now Helen and I have 1 record, and her mean score was 90, okay, in the overall of her 2 exams. But actually there's a problem here because I know for a fact Helen had 3 exams. So I must have at some point deleted a record from this, okay. So she had 2 exams, and her mean score is 90. Okay, now I can go into Stata. So what did we do? Collected our data with question, did an extract to a CSV file, pulled that into Access. Why did I pull it into Access? Because it's a lot easier for me to calculate an average over subjects in Access than it is for me to do it in Stata. Okay? If it's easier for you to do something like that in Stata, then pull it directly into Stata and do this in Stata and don't use Access.
So, we skipped the whole thing where you made a primary key as a subject ID and made a separate table, etc. So you wouldn't do that like.
That's all done in question.
Okay.
It's all done in question.
Data somewhere else.
Yeah.
There's no point to recreate that.
No, you don't need to recreate that in Access. No, you don't need to recreate that in Access. Okay. So, but it was still good that you understood about creating a primary key and so forth, because that understanding will help you understand your QuestGen database then. Okay, because the same principles apply to any relational database, whether it's in Access or in QuestGen, which uses MySQL as its backend, or any other database that you're using. Okay, so now I'm going to go from from my query here into Stata. Remember how we did this? And then I can close the data editor in Stata. And I've got 397 records. And now I can do a t-test of this average score by jaundice. Oh, I don't know. I had fat fingers, I guess. Okay, so let's get rid of the N. And I've got my results, 111 versus 101, p-value of this, confidence interval here. And now I'm ready to write my paper and publish the results. So what I do it in 11 minutes, I was able to go all the way through kind of a microcosm of the whole process from data collection, extraction, formatting, importing into a statistical package, and then running the analysis that you're going to publish. Okay, so let me go back to my PowerPoint presentation and make sure I've covered the critical things. So advantages of QuestGen particularly, and these web-based data management platforms in general, is that you can have multiple user roles, that you identify PHI fields and can mask them from users without PHI privileges. With QuestGen specifically, it's been reviewed by IT, UCSF IT. It's easy to add, change, and format fields. They have templates for medications labs, etc. Also for systematic reviews. And when I say inexpensive, it's expensive relative to SurveyMonkey. It's expensive relative to doing your own Access database and relying on your departmental system administrators to handle. Well, it depends on how your departmental system administrators charge you. But usually they should be covered in your indirects, okay? So in that case, you don't have to pay them extra in order to provide you with a terminal server, a remote desktop that you share between the different users of your Access database. So it's expensive relative to that, okay? It's inexpensive relative to the things that that Big Pharma uses, like Oracle Clinical. It's less than a tenth the cost of something like Oracle Clinical or Phase Forward or something like that. The disadvantages are the same as any web-based platform. Okay, and that takes us to the data management protocol. But there was a question that I postponed answering a little while ago to make sure I got through this. Does anybody remember what that was? I don't either. So your data management protocol, I am going to refer you, this is posted on the internet, but I'm going to refer you to these questions. At the very end, at the very end of this PowerPoint presentation, there are 11 questions, okay? If you answer these 11 questions for your particular study, you have completed the assignment, okay? And the purpose of this is I want to force you to go through these questions because you're going to have to answer them at some point in the course of your research study. And I think I'm doing you a service by making you answer these questions now rather than waiting until you're kind of ready to start implementing the study and you haven't thought about how to answer all of these questions.